I know it's only August, but Halloween in my mind is right around the corner, and if we don't start celebrating fall now, it will disappear before its time. And so I'm already watching fall vlogs, I'm already lighting fall candles, I'm just in such a pumpkin spice mood. I've already designed some fall stickers, as you can see here, these Halloween queens that we've got, and I am just so excited for spooky season. Plus, I have so many plans and art projects that I have to start now if I want to get them all done. So today I am working on this project that I started last year where I drew 52 spooky Halloween cards for this season, and now I'm making them all into digital art pieces. That way I can make them into an actual set of 52 spooky playing cards. So here are the 4 that I already have done, and today I'm going to be creating 3 more, which I am super excited about. My feed is already looking pretty Halloween, which I'm super excited about. But anyway, here is the video from last year showing off all 52 Halloween cards which I drew out, and this was so much fun to create all of them, and I had a lot of fun hearing out everything that you guys had to offer with the input and what I should draw, and it was just such a fun project that made me so happy for spooky season that I really want to share it with you guys and make a card set that we can all have together to show off the art that we all created together. So I'm really excited about this, and I cannot wait for them all to be done. So now let's start off with this first card, which is Theme Spider, and let's create. Up first is this spooky spider card, and I absolutely hate spiders. I just think they are very icky and not fun to look at very much, but they are kind of cool, especially around spooky season. So I decided to start off with this one, and of course I'm using the symmetry tool to really make sure that this looks exactly the same on both sides because I want it to look actually symmetrical, obviously. So now I'm adding in all of the cool little touches, like these little spider web details, which I think are so fun, especially for the spider theme. And now I'm working on creating the actual spider in the middle. I decided to change up the design of the original one a little bit just to try and make it a little more spooky and a little more accurate to what a spider actually looks like. The original one's body was kind of weird, and now I know this isn't a Black Widow spider, but I still felt like adding the hourglass would be super cool. I tried to mess with this spider design a few times, but I couldn't make it better, so I just decided to work with the original design and just spookify it a little bit more by thickening up the legs and making it kind of more creepy crawly. Then after that, it was time to start adding in the colors, which is obviously my favorite part. So now I'm working on just adding a base color for everything that I want to work with, and then I can start on the basic shadows and highlights for everything before going in with more details. For my details for this one, I used a lot of white and just created little highlights over everything, especially these parts since they were supposed to look like silver and metal. So I felt like it needed a lot of shine to kind of convey that it was metallic. And after I put in all of those highlights, I decided those are kind of too bright, so I dimmed them down a little bit to create an extra layer of dimension. And then I went over with even more highlights on top to make it look extra shiny and three-dimensional. I don't like spiders to the point that it was kind of hard to actually work on this card because the spider was kind of, scaring me a little bit. So I tried to focus more on the other elements first. For example, I started doing this spider web and giving it a whole bunch of highlights to really make it pop because, spider webs are traditionally white, so I felt like it would stand out more. And now I'm working on the main part, which is the green colors, adding in some bubbles. I'm not really sure what this spider is soaking in my mind. Some sort of potion, some sort of poison. I'm not really sure, but I just went along with the vibe. It was a cool card, so that's the effect that I'm going for. It's my goal for every single one of these cards to really keep the heart of the original art into the digital art. So it's very different when you're creating things traditionally versus digitally. I really still wanted it to keep a lot of my style and character in it, so I'm really trying to stick to the original designs as much as possible. I decided to bedazzle the whole thing with some sparkles and highlights and make it look kind of fun even though it's spooky, and the glass was so much fun to create. I added in so many highlights and some fun parts there to try and make it look like it was reflective and that you could see through it and that you could see the background. And now it's time to work on the spider. I can't ignore it any longer. I just decided to add in a whole bunch of highlights to it, make it look like, it was bathing in some mysterious liquid. And then after that, I decided to outline it as well just to really make sure that it stood out. I'm kind of imitating my white gel pen effect because you know that I love my white gel pens and I love to outline and highlight things with white in Procreate as well. So now I'm going ahead and adding in the label for this one. I'm not sure if I want to leave the labels on for the 52 card playing deck, but I think I'm going to, since I feel like they're such an important part to the original designs. But anyway, after that, I went ahead and added in some shading to that label. I created a shadow to make sure this looked super 3D, and of course I'm going in with those final touches of sparkle and creating the background, giving it a little bit more of an effect. That way it's not just blank and kind of straightforward. I want it to be a little more shaded and colored as well, just like the rest of it. I want it not to be too flat, and then I brought the sparkles out to the background as well because I just could not help myself. It needed some pizzazz, and here is it before and here is it after, which is my favorite part, to see that transition between how the card looked in traditional form versus digital. And I think this one turned out so cool, still spooky, but so cute and shiny. And now it is time for the second card, which this owl card is one of my favorites. I just love the contrast between the dark night sky and the stars and all of those pretty fall gradient leaves. So this one is one of my favorite designs, so I was definitely overthinking it and putting a lot of pressure on myself to get it right. So the first thing that I did was import the original image, of course, and now I'm going ahead and drawing out all of the line art for this one. I can't believe that it's been a whole year since I made these cards. That is just such an insane thought to me, and it is so fun to get to do them digitally now and kind of improve on what I did before and like kind of see how much I've grown in that time. So this is a lot of fun to see and reflect on this project. But anyway, I'm just continuing outlining everything and making sure that it all looks the way that I want to, and again, really trying to keep the original style of the cards. I initially made 52 cards because 52 just seems like the right number. I knew that was what was in a standard card deck and it just felt right, but they were originally just supposed to be artist trading cards, you know, just cards that I made for fun that were art, but just for some reason happened to be the same size as a standard card. But then so many of you suggested that I make them into an actual playing deck that has been on my mind this whole year. I've been thinking about this project ahead, so I'm so excited to finally be transforming them into a 52 card playing deck, and I would really love and appreciate your input along the way about how I should incorporate the numbers on the card, like what suit they are and what number and all of that. I would love some thoughts about that, and I'm still trying to figure all of that out, so let me know in the comments what your ideas are. I super appreciate the help and the feedback, and this project was so much fun because I really felt like it gave me the opportunity to hear from you guys and sort of create that community, and I felt like that was so much fun. So definitely let me know what suggestions you have for the cards in the comments, and let me know if you would want a deck of these cards. So now here I am back to outlining everything and shading everything. I've already put in the colors and kind of did some light airbrushing to make sure it has a little feel, and then I decided that the outlining of all of the shadows wasn't enough, and I was going to spend a lot of time detailing in all of these little ruffles and feathers into the design with a million tiny little strokes of my little pen here. So that was actually a lot of fun though, and it was a lot of important detail that I felt like was necessary. I even added in little stripes for the feathers of the owl, and I felt like that was really cool. Now it's time to work on his foot, which was really funny, and it looks kind of wonky in my opinion, but I'm not sure. I think it turned out okay in the end. I really did some good shading on it to try and make it look right. And now it's time to work on the branch that the owl is sitting on, but I am so excited for my favorite part, which is coming up soon, which is the leaves. But first I have to torture myself again by adding in even more ruffles and feather designs all over the entire owl, one stroke at a time. I kind of have a rule in digital art where I have to add at least 2 supporting colors. So what I mean by that is I add a base color and then I add in a darker color and then a lighter color on top of that color just to make sure it has enough depth and dimension. And then of course I go in and I add all of my highlights, which I decided to add even more individual ruffles and feathers and highlights to really make sure that the owl stood out where it needed to make it look like all of the feathers were individual. And then I changed the colors a little bit and made it more saturated separated so it would stand out against the blue, since orange and blue are complementary colors. And now it's time for my favorite part, which is the fall leaves. I love the gradients of these in the original design, so I really wanted to keep those going, so I added a whole bunch of gradients into the leaves and a gradient on the top label of the card as well, from orange to red. And then I added in a whole bunch of little white details to leaves to really make them pop and fit the rest of the design. And then it was time to add in all of the individual highlights and dots and stars to the entire thing. And then I labeled it owl, of course, and kept this one black as well. And here is the before and here is the after. I definitely think it kept the same feel as the original design, which was so important to me because I love the pop of the bright colors, and I think this card is one of my favorites. So now it is time for the last card of the day, which is the Bat-Cat card, which I know a lot of people loved this one last time, so I'm so excited to get to go ahead in and make it even more detailed and neater. I used the symmetry tool for the face of the Bat-Cat just to make sure that everything was looking the same, because I didn't want it to look too wonky or off from the other side, so I feel like that would be a great place to use it. I added in this cute little eyebrow and then started adding in some extra details. I decided to move the original design over a little bit more so that way the bat wing wasn't cut off like it was in the original. I just felt like it would be cooler if you could actually see the entire wing. And then I started working on the body outline and just kind of outlining the images that were already there, but making sure to neaten everything up and make them a little bit cooler. I also liked that moving the card over allowed me to create a little bit more room for the tail, which is a very important part of a cat, obviously. And then it was time to start working on the detail parts a little bit more and outlining everything, even the littlest things like the moon on the head and the little detailed veins in the bat wing. And then I decided to do a little bit of a different spin on the bottom of it, and I made a coffin for the bottom, which is what is supposed to be in the original, but I kind of flipped the coffin around to make sure that you could tell that that is what the Bat-Cat was sitting on. And then it was time to bring in all of the base colors, and then I could finally start working on the details. I love the contrast of all of the purple and then these bright yellow eyes right in the middle, so I really wanted to emphasize those and make them look extra spooky and make sure that they really popped. And then it was time to work on the rest of it, so I first started off by just adding in some shading to add in some depth and dimension already, and then after that it was time to start adding in the little details and trying to make everything look a little more three-dimensional and giving it the right shading. I even added in little blush, which was so cute. And then after that, I added in some little ruffles and highlights. I gave him a little mitten just like in the original, but I also added in a tiny little heart detail, which I thought was so cute. It kind of gives My Little Pony vibes, but I'm here for it. I think it is just so cute. And I thought it just added a little bit more character to the Bat-Cat. So here I am adding in that little heart, and now it's time to add in some shading. So I've given a little bit of highlights, but now I'm trying to shade everything and blend it out a little bit. And I'm adding in the highlights now as well, and I used the Gaussian blur. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I don't even know how to say it. But anyway, I used that to add in some highlights, and now it's time for the detail parts. So this one really focused a lot on the white gel pen details, if you will. I know we're in digital. I know it's not a white gel pen, but it's the same vibe. So that's what I'm going with. And then I added in a whole bunch of whiskers and little fur details, which I felt like really made the whole image come to life. In the original art piece, I was really heavy with the white gel pen, so I really wanted to incorporate that same vibe and effect in here, so I had to add in a lot of white details to really make sure that it popped the same way that it did in the traditional card. Which meant that I kept adding in even more white details, and I added them everywhere, even outlining the entire Bat-Cat. And of course I had to sneak in a few sparkles here and there as well. And then it was time to work on the coffin a little bit more. I added a shadow for the cat to make it look like it was sitting on top of it, and then I added in a whole bunch of detail lines just to give it a little bit of depth, and of course a highlight as well. For the background, I loved the original card detail with the little bubble effect and some lines through it as well, so that's what I tried to do on the back and used the opacity opacity to kind of make it fade out a little bit more so it wasn't too distracting from the Batcat, but I think it turned out so cute. I added in the purple banner and of course labeled it Batcat because, you know, that's what it is, a cute little Batcat. Moved it to the right place, and here is the before and here is the after, and I think this one turned out so cute. I love the warmth of the purples in this one, and I love that with digital art I have so many options for the colors that I want to use. I'm not just limited to the markers. So here is the first one that we did today, which was the spider card, and I think this one turned out so cool. Even though it's kind of spooky, it's still a really fun vibe. Here is the next one, which is the owl, which was really important to me that I kept it the same as the original card and kept that integrity of it, and I think that I did with the warmth. And finally, here is this adorable Batcat, which was changed a little bit with some warmer colors and of course a little My Little Pony butt heart, which is so cute. And here are all of the cards that I've done so far together. I am so excited to complete all 52, which as you can tell will take me a little while, but let me know which cards you are most looking forward to seeing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!